All right, we're moving into slope of a line. So we are on lesson 8.3. We're working on slope. Our essential question, we can't see it all right now. Oh, it says, can you find the slope of a line? So please excuse my poor artwork. I'm not very good with art, but this is an airplane, and this airplane is taking off. And as you notice, to find that slope, we have to have the rise over the run. Slope is always in terms, they call it M. So they use the small lowercase letter m to show rise over run. In this case, the rise was 15 meters and the run was 100 meters, which reduces to 3/20. Now, there is a formula for slope, but before we learn that formula, we're going to go ahead and just look at this slope. So if I have a rise of 3, so the rise is 3, the run is 3, I know my slope lowercase m. Okay, really, I'm trying to find a pen. M is 3/3, which is equal to 1. Let's look at the next one over here. That actually looked like a negative. It's actually equal to +1. Let's look at this one right here. Notice that in this case, it rises -2. So it's really going down. And this one runs 3. So the slope of this one, pen again, slope of this one is -2/3. So while we're talking about negative and positive slopes, let's take a look at what we call Mr. Slope Guy. Mr. Slope Guy has a positive slope. He also has a negative slope, an undefined slope, and a slope of 0. So I'm just going to write that right here. This is positive, this is negative. And we did learn a fun little way to talk about our 0 slope as hoi and our undefined slope as vux. So as you notice, Mr. Slope Guy is positive, negative, undefined, and 0. So he doesn't look very happy, does he? All right, so let's take a look at what slope means. We already talked about rise, which is a vertical change, over run, which is a horizontal change. But now we're going to look at it using our points in terms of x and y. So remember I talked about slope always being in lowercase m. My rise is going to be y⁻² minus y⁻1. So what this means is the second point of the y, so you're going to be given 2 points, and then the second y point, or the first point of the y given. That was pretty confusing. Let's just put it into play. Over the horizontal change, which is the run, is going to be x⁻² minus x⁻1. So like I said, let's put it into play. Number 2 says find the slope of the line through the points 1, 6, and 3, -2. So, like I said, we're just going to look at this as our first point. We're going to call this x⁻1, y⁻1. The second point we're going to call x⁻², y⁻2. So we're going to take m and make it equal to -2, which is the y⁻2, minus 6 over 3 minus 1. When I take -2 minus 6, I get -8. 3 minus 1 is 2, so it looks like my slope is -4. So my lowercase m, my slope is -4. Now I get the question a lot, well, what happens if I mix up the points? Does it matter what I call x⁻2 and x⁻1? It doesn't, as long as you have the y's on top, and I'm going to prove that to you over here in pink. So let's say I did do y⁻1 first, 6 minus a -2. Make sure you put the x⁻1 first. So 1 minus 3, and we get 8 over -2, which is also -4. So notice it doesn't matter as long as you have the 1 and 6 together, because that point was together, and the negative 2 and 3 together because that point was together. All right, moving on to example 3. Find the slope of the line. All right, to find the slope of the line, we are going to solve for y. So the first thing I'm going to write here is we want to solve for y. So if I was to solve this for y, the first thing I would do is subtract 2x to each side. So I get, let me use another color, negative 3y equals, and I'm going to put the negative 2x before the 18. And again, I'm continuing to solve for y. When I do that, I'm going to divide everything through by negative 3. Don't forget, we do have to divide everything through by negative 3. And y is equal to positive 2/3 x minus 6. Now, in the next lesson, we're going to use the form y equals mx plus b, but I'm going to start warming you up to it right now. And the letter m, remember we talked about that small m, is going to be our slope. So when I solve for y, I can see the slope very clearly, but in this case, when I have to solve for y, I know that the slope is 2/3. All right, moving on to example 4. Remember we learned the words hoi vux. Hoi vux. Remember, hoi is on the y-axis and vux is on the x-axis. So I know that because hoi vux. So because this one is saying find the slope of the line x equals negative 5, I'm going to need the vux, not the hoi. Now what does that mean? This means it is a vertical line. It means my slope is undefined. And it's going to touch the x-axis. So when I graph this, I don't really need to graph it, at negative 5, that's what the graph is going to look like. But since they're just asking me for the slope, I know that the slope is undefined. And moving on to the slope of this one, again, we need to look at hoi vux. Hoi vux. Because this is a y equals, I'm going to use the hoi, which means a horizontal line. I know my slope is 0, that's what the hoi, and it's going to touch the y-axis. So even though it's not asking me to, I'm going to graph y equals 2, which is right here, and my slope is 0. Now you could write the number 0, but I'm just writing it out so you can see it.